Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today for today's Mobile Cause webinar, The Three Pillars of a Rockstar Annual Fundraising Plan. I'm Scott Couchman, the training manager at Mobile Cause. Now, it's a new year, the start of the 20s, which means new opportunities to crush your goals and make an even greater impact for your nonprofit. Crushing those goals begins by mapping out a solid annual plan that ensures you know where you're going, how you're going to get there, and even how you'll handle any setbacks along the way. Now, today's webinar is going to delve into the backbone of an outstanding annual fundraising plan, how to look back to move forward, and strategies to increase giving and donor retention all year long. Plus, we'll see how a nonprofit puts all that to work and brought great success for their cause. So grab something to take notes with and get ready for a lively discussion on how you can jumpstart your year with a Rockstar annual fundraising plan. We welcome your participation in today's presentation, so please feel free to ask any questions about your annual fundraising plan by submitting them in the question box on your GoToWebinar control panel. We will answer questions directly to participants during the webinar, and at the end, when we have an open Q&A session, we'll answer those questions with our experts. Now, we hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and as a quick reminder, we will be sending out the recording and slides to all our registrants afterwards. Now, today's webinar is presented by Mobile Cause. Mobile Cause understands the everyday challenges nonprofits face, constantly confronted with limited resources, yet still expected to expand your impact. You shouldn't have to face these challenges alone. That's why Mobile Cause offers more than comprehensive fundraising software. We also provide one-on-one strategy from dedicated fundraising experts that and have the industry's best support team ready to provide assistance 24/7. At Mobile Cause, we're just as committed to your cause as you are, and together we can grow your nonprofit like never before. Now, let me introduce you to our presenters. First off, Beth Westbrook is the Senior Director of Outreach at the Vasculitis Foundation. After nearly 20 years working in the oncology field, Beth joined the Vasculitis Foundation as the Director of Development in the summer of 2018. She's a passionate patient advocate and dedicated fundraiser. Over the years, she has testified before Congress and worked on black tie galas widely attended by members of Congress, ambassadors, healthcare influencers, and successful business people. Beth also serves on two advisory committees for the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Family and Youth Partnership, plus the section on palliative and hospice care. Christy Knoll is the Vice President of Digital Marketing Services at Mobile Cause, where she is responsible for creating, driving, and delivering programs to help Mobile Cause customers and partners advance their marketing and fundraising objectives. Christy is the former board chair of Girls on the Run of Los Angeles County and marketing director and dog foster for Noah's Bark Rescue. Now, today we have a great agenda for you, packed with useful insights and takeaways. We'll take a deep dive into the three easy-to-master pillars of annual fundraising, including how to set achievable goals, mapping out your calendar, and actionable ways you can inspire more giving all year long. Then we'll speak with Beth from Vasculitis Foundation, a nonprofit like yours, about implementing these fundraising plan strategies to raise more donations. So before we begin discussing the three pillars of a Rockstar fundraising plan, we have a quick poll question for everyone. Has your nonprofit started their annual fundraising plan this year? So let me go ahead and open up this poll here. We'll give it about a minute. And launching the poll. So yeah, your choices are, yes, and it's done. Yes, it's in progress. No, we need to get on it. Or no, to be determined if we even will create one. So let's see those answers coming in. I'm getting a lot of good responses. Good. A pretty attentive group, getting a lot of these coming in. All right. Okay, we'll give it about another 10 seconds. So let's take a look. All right, looks like we slowed down here. So I'm going to go ahead and close this poll down. Let's take a look at those results. So it's nice to see the results here. It looks like the majority of you are in process of it. No, great. Several of you, it's like, okay, you need to get on it. Good to know. Good, this will help out here. Yes, and it's done. Great. We may give you some tips to shore that up a little, and then for the to be determined if we will even create one. Hopefully get some inspiration from today on what you can do with that plan. So good to see these results here. All right, so back to our presentation. So, wherever you are in your annual planning or our webinar today, it's really going to have some truly helpful tips and tools for your nonprofit. So let's just get into it at this point. So join me in welcoming Christy Knoll to start us off with the 3 pillars of a Rockstar annual fundraising plan. Let me send control to Christy here. All right, and with that, Christy, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Scott. And hello to everyone. Welcome to 2020. And was excited to see that many of you have at least gotten your foot into the annual planning. And hopefully today we will be able to give you some more tips and ideas and strategies to finish that up and get you on your way to executing and having your best year ever. So why the annual fundraising plan is so important is it gives you the pathway to your goals and allows you to better determine how to deal with setbacks. So just like driving across country, if you have a map, you know where you're going, it's a lot easier to get there. And if there's any detours along the way, you at least still have a plan to follow. And that's why it's important to have a plan for your annual fundraising as well. In addition, charitable giving is on the rise, and the percentage of giving made online continues to increase every year. So we want you to formulate the right plan so you can help take advantage of the growth in donations and know where you're going to spend your time and energy to grow your revenue and your donor base. And a plan is going to help you stay focused. When all of the craziness and the confusion and the stress and the time constraints start really increasing as the year goes on, having your plan established will help you determine and stay focused on what's most important. Where do you need to spend your time and energy? It takes away the guesswork. There's no flying by the seat of your pants. It really gives you the roadmap to where you need to go and where you need to be. It also is a great way to get everybody on the same page. It eliminates miscommunication and any misunderstanding of what the objectives are for the organization and how the campaigns are going to be implemented. And it's also a great way to create awareness about your organization and your organization's fundraising programs. So now we know why it's important to have a plan. Let's talk about the 3 pillars that we go into building the plan, and that's the revenue, the campaigns, and then your promotion. So the revenue, the big one that we want to start with and ultimately end with. So to start planning your annual plan and the revenue, we're going to actually start by looking backward. So look at and analyze, what did you raise last year? Where did the revenue come from? And how much did you spend to bring in those donations? And so this is a great opportunity to really look at what was achieved and what was missed, or what changes you'd make. Maybe some things worked better than others. Maybe there was opportunities that were missed. So this is really dig in and be honest with yourself and your organization about what you've done in the past from a revenue perspective, so you can have an attainable goal. It can be ambitious, but you want it to be realistic. You also are going to analyze each major fundraising initiative. So what campaigns and events were successful? Which ones weren't? What are you currently doing? What's been working? What hasn't been working? Where are you getting the best bang for your buck? And are there things you can eliminate? If you have the time to do a SWOT analysis, these are always great. That's when you look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So it gives you a really good understanding of where you are in the marketplace and what opportunities you might be missing out on. And if there's going to be any changes in the environment or changes in the organization that potentially could threaten your plan or your revenue, this is the time to take a look at that so you can bake that into your plan and be prepared for it. Another element of your review and your evaluation and your analysis is looking at your donor database. Are you maximizing your relationships with your donors? Are you actually growing your donor database? If not, what do you need to be doing to continue to do that? How is your communication strategy? Are you sending the same communication to all donors, or are you segmenting them? You might look at segmenting them from recurring donors versus one-time donors, or first-time donors to repeat donors. Or you can segment by giving levels or how long they've been a donor. These are all great ways to communicate with your donors differently, which makes it much more effective in the long run. And then it also enables you to aid in asking for a donation at the right time, in the right way, to boost your giving. So once you've done all your analysis and review, then it's time to start looking at setting those overall goals. And your goals don't have to be completely financially based. Obviously, the revenue is going to be a huge part of that, but your goals can also include growing your database. Maybe there's a number you want to reach or a percentage of growth you're trying to attain. Increase your followers or your social media engagement. They could be selling more tickets to your annual gala. So yes, the revenue is important, but this is also an opportunity. Maybe you want to increase your number of volunteers or increase the time volunteered by those volunteers. You also want to look at your resources when you're setting your goals to see if there's any gaps that are preventing you from being successful. And your resources could be obviously your money and your revenue and your donations, but it could be people. Do you have the staff? Do you have the board members? Do you have the volunteers you need to be successful? Do you have the expertise and special skills? Do you have the right technology or software? So again, take this opportunity to look at where you're at to be able to put into the plan where you need to be and how to utilize the resources you do have. And just a reminder, money is important, but it isn't always the single biggest factor in your success. Maybe it's the single biggest factor, maybe it's not the only factor. How's that? A group of passionate volunteers may give you more success than money can buy. And so this is the opportunity to really maximize the resources you do have to your benefit. So now it's time to actually look at your annual revenue goals and start putting them pen to paper or keyboard to computer screen. You've pulled all your research and your analysis together, and you're going to create your annual revenue target. I would recommend breaking it down by each giving source so that you know where it's coming from. And you can look at your analysis, your past yearly totals, and come up with a reasonable target of growth. It should be realistic, and it should be a realistic plan to reach it. Saying you're going to increase your revenue by 25% without a history of that kind of growth or a plan to get you there will only lead to disappointment and frustration. So better to be realistic and feel good and confident about your plan and hit those goals than to have this crazy pie in the sky goal that just is not going to be achievable. Once you've determined your revenue and where it will be coming from, whether it's individual giving or corporate fundraising or fundraising events, then you can put together the campaign plan to make it happen. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Pillar number 2, the campaigns. So you're going to start by building your campaign calendar. And you're going to start by mapping out your year and by filling in all the calendar dates of your key event dates, deadlines, and work backward to determine when you should start planning. So if you know when your run walk is, you know when your annual or biannual gala is, maybe you know when you're going to be doing your board recruiting. All of these can go onto your campaign calendar, and then you can start working backwards to know when to start launching and to start beginning working on them. You'll also want to add in your strategic activities. Maybe you have a membership program or a corporate giving program. And you want to also look at if you have ongoing programs. Maybe you have a monthly membership drive or a quarterly membership drive, or you know that you have volunteer days or events. These are all going to go on your calendar so that you can put in the activities and the events that you need to support them. And once you have started your calendar, now that's when we're going to start putting in all the strategies and tactics to implement them. The key here is to make sure you work backwards enough that you have time to get everything done and to prepare for anything that may come at you unexpectedly. Beth Westbrook, who's going to speak to us a little later today, when we were chatting, she was saying that she recommends at least 6 weeks in advance preparing for a campaign so that you have time to anticipate what may go wrong once it starts, which is really great advice. And so we are looking forward to hearing more from Beth in a minute. But if you have a campaign event, you probably want to start at least 3 months out from the event to start your invitations and start inviting people, get your corporate sponsors, your speakers, your presentation put together. You can start promoting it 6 weeks before the launch or the event date, and then you'll bake into your campaign calendar the days after the campaign to make sure you do your follow-up, your thank yous, and everything else related to finishing up the event or the campaign. You want to make sure that you are planning in how to use your resources. So that's your people, you have your technology, you have your software, you have your AV. That needs to go into your planning calendar. And your communications. So communication is such a critical component of your annual plan. You want to make sure you really take the time to plan your communication calendar so you're not having multiple communications going out on top of each other or too close together, especially when you're starting to talk about, you might have a end of the year gala with Giving Tuesday and a year-end giving campaign. You want to think all that through so you know when each communication is going to hit and what channel you're going to use to make sure that it's a nice flow and you're targeting the right message at the right time. And then as you're building your planning calendar, I would also recommend you schedule in time to review and revise your strategy throughout the year. So yes, you're going to create your annual plan now, but that doesn't mean you don't have the opportunity to tweak it or fine tune it as a result of how you're achieving your goals, or maybe there's changes in the environment that's going to require you to pivot a little bit. So in your calendar, once a quarter, maybe every other month, maybe twice a year, whatever works for your organization, make sure you've calendared in time to assess and take stock of where you're at and see if you have to make any modifications going forward. Another part of your planning of the campaigns is to keep everything donor-centric. You want to spark donor interest and engagement to help increase repeat giving, reduce donor fatigue, and help lessen the pressure for a constant stream of new donors. And so you do this by making donors part of your nonprofit story, showing them how their donations are being used and what they help you accomplish, keeping them up to date with what's new, and giving them options to donate or get involved, and whether that's in person, mobile, online, whatever is going to be the best for your donor, is you want to make sure that is part of your plan. So you'll be more successful if you keep your plan donor centric, and so you want to work that into your plan as well. And one great way to do that, if you haven't already are not already doing this, is to ask the donors about themselves. Do a donor survey once or twice a year. Get to know your donors better. Build a relationship with them if you don't know how they like to be communicated with, or what they're most interested in regarding your organization, or why they got involved in the first place. The donor survey is a great way to ask them, and then you can use that information to continue to build your plan and your campaigns that really makes it donor-centric. And then the last pillar of our Rockstar annual plan is the promotion. So you want to share your messages for all of your campaigns with a multi-channel communication strategy. This increases the likelihood of them being seen and keeps your cause top of mind with donors. We all know how bombarded we get with messages on a daily basis. Your donors are no different. So you increase the likelihood of actually getting them to see it, read it, and digest it if you use a multi-channel approach. So, and it's not just Christy telling you this, the research shows that this is true. So if you use direct mail and at least one other digital media, campaigns are seeing 118% lift in response rates compared to using direct mail only. If you use email alone, the average response rate is 8%. If you use email plus text message, you almost double that, and the average response rate is 15%. So assume that not everybody is going to see every message. We know that email open rates are somewhere between 15 and 18% for nonprofits. So not everybody is going to be seeing every email. We know organically on social media, posts are being seen about 5 to 6% of your followers. And on the bright side, text messages, about 98% of those are getting read. So if you combine all of those, you're going to increase the likelihood of getting your message out there, and you don't have to really have a risk of feeling like you're bombarding everybody, because not everybody is going to see every message. So your multi-channel approach can include direct mail, it can include email, social media, maybe local media, radio, television, newspapers, text and mobile messaging, and phone calls. So not all of those may work for you, but some components will, and you want to put that into your plan and maximize your multi-channel communication strategy. And then let's not forget about the importance of social media. So 29% of donors worldwide say that social media is the tool that most inspires them to give. So you definitely want to have social media in your plan. And it's more than just a frequent communication. There really should be a strategy behind how you communicate your message using social media. So the first aspect is to understand the use of each social media platform. So Instagram is used differently than Facebook, which is used differently than Twitter. So the question you have is, where's your audience and which social media platform? What message can you share through that? Is it compelling, and will it be what the follower on that social media platform is interested in? Can you create the content for that media on a regular basis? And then do you have the ability to measure and look at the results and to improve and tweak it? Because as we all know, algorithms change on anything that's digital. And so it's really looking at the results and your engagement, your open rates, your shares, your likes, to understand if your social media strategy is working. If you don't have a social media plan at the moment, then I would say what you need to do is first ask if your audience is there. Can you add value to that channel? Can you bring unique and interesting content to it? And why will you be using that channel specifically? So it's much more important to do a couple of social media platforms well than to try to do them all and half-heartedly. So if your followers are on Facebook and you want to go all into Facebook and that's going to work for you, great. Maybe you have a demographic that's more into Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter. That's for you to determine. But again, I would say you're much better off to use text, email, and a couple of social media platforms than trying to spread yourself too thin across multiple social media channels. So I covered a lot of information and not a lot of time. So Mobile Cause, we here have a great ebook on the 6 building blocks of a successful fundraising plan that is able to dive into putting together your annual plan in much more detail than I was able to cover here. So it is going to be shared. You can download it through a link that we're going to share through the chat. The slides will have the link to it as well after the fact, and you can also find it on our website if you would like to check it out, which I highly recommend you do. So the same pillars of planning your annual fundraising plan also work for creating your campaigns, and we're going to now talk about how to put a campaign plan into action. But first, I'm going to turn it back to you, Scott.
Thanks, Christy, and thanks for just all these wonderful insights into building and planning a prosperous year for nonprofit fundraising. Now, as a quick reminder, if you have any questions, you can submit them into the question box on your control panel as we go along. And don't forget to grab a copy of the 6 building blocks of a successful fundraising campaign from the, we have it in the chat, so you should be able to grab it there. And we also will have it available, as Christy said, in other places. So we'll make sure you can get to that there. So now let me get control here. And let me turn this. Okay, there we go. Let me turn this over to Beth Westbrook of the Vasculitis Foundation for her take on how she implemented these pillars and strategies to planning their largest fundraising campaign and brought newfound success to her organization. Okay, Beth, it's your screen's yours, so take it away.
Thanks, Scott, and thank you, Christy. I'm delighted to be here. This has truly been a journey for me. As Scott said early on, I joined the Vasculitis Foundation in the summer of 2018. And I think it's fair to say that part of the reason I was brought on was to start building a more strategic annual plan for the organization. They had been successful in raising revenue, but they quickly realized that they could be more strategic. So like I say, I came on in the summer of 2018, and the fall was the first big fundraising campaign we had. And at the same time, it was an organizational decision to bring on Mobile Cause platform to help build out that campaign. So in many respects, we did not have a lot of time to plan that campaign, but I only mention it to you because today I really want to focus on last year's year-end campaign and to show you the difference of what planning made for us. And we now will use that going forward to build out our year-long campaign. So like I say, we started this campaign called Join Our Journey. It was a 3-year campaign where we looked at 3 different of our pillars within the organization: early diagnosis, better treatment, and improved quality of life. After the 2018 campaign, we went back, we reviewed what we did, And then as the summer of 2019 came, we started to look at our campaign goals. We looked at the revenue from last year. We looked at what things went really well. And one of the things that we were successful with in 18 was engaging some of our lapsed donors. So we wanted to build on that in 2019. Along with that, one of the interesting things we learned in 2018 through Mobile Cause peer-to-peer fundraising was that we were capturing some new donors. So we wanted to build on that as well. So after we established our goals, we looked to who needs to be part of this campaign. Who is the team? The year before, all of us were involved in the whole process. And so as a result, there was a lot of overlap and maybe even some confusion in terms of who did what. But last summer, we really looked at who do we need and how do we get them in place. So the air traffic controller, the person overseeing the entire campaign, was me, Director of Development. But then we needed a really strong writer, which we had at our disposal to create the messages. Then we embraced social media in 2018, but we really needed help determining the cadence of the messages, when to send them out, and getting somebody to actually put them out there according to schedule. We were fortunate. We were able to bring on an intern, and she was light years ahead of me in her knowledge of social media. But she took it upon herself to make sure all the messages went out in a timely way. Then we had somebody who helped us with the text messaging and then acted as a guide and a strategist in our peer-to-peer fundraising. That person turned out to be Lindsay. Lindsay was our digital fundraising strategist at Mobile Cause and proved to be a truly priceless member of our team for her expertise and her guidance. The first year when we did our campaign, we used a lot of the webinars, much like the one today, to help us. And then the things that we could read in terms of instructions of how to get stuff done. But adding the next layer in 2019, bringing Lindsay on, really took it up a notch. So we were lucky to have that as well. We also needed somebody to do analytics, because what we found is we had to be nimble. We had to react to the message that was going out and tweak what we might have prepared for the next message. I'm very lucky at the Vasculitis Foundation, we actually have 2 staff members who are very good at analytics. So they stepped up and took on that role for me. Finally, in 2019, we used ambassadors, which were really Vasculitis Foundation volunteers. We decided to ask and get a chairperson and then 7 ambassadors. And they ranged in age. There were men, there were women, various backgrounds. They acted more as communicators. They sent out their own messages through social media, or sometimes just pushed out what we were using that day. So then once we had the people in place, it really became time to put the calendar together. And I cannot stress enough the importance of the calendar. What we did, our theme was better treatments. And we knew the power of the message was really in the patient voice. So we gathered 3 to 5 patient stories. And then we also reached out and got 5 of our strong scientists and clinicians to share their point of view on where vasculitis is. We captured their stories both in video and in print, and we pulled out of those conversations some very strong quotes that we could use in messaging. And then out of that, we developed key messages that we used both in social media, text, email, and direct mail. So that brings me to the point of the communication channels. I was glad Christy covered that previously, because in the prior year, we did a lot with email, obviously direct mail, and it was the introduction of text messaging and some social media. Last year, we really put it down on paper. When we were going to do this, what days would we do an email? What days would we do a text message? Facebook, Twitter. I equate this to when I do a text message or an email, it's like the little advertisement card you get in the mailbox. When I use Facebook and Twitter, it's more like the billboard you see on the side of the road. So coordinating those different areas of communication were really important. So when we looked at our calendar, the first thing we put down were the things that were happening within the organization, but not directly tied to the campaign. If there was an outside event happening, if there was going to be a time where the staff was traveling, we're a small staff, 4 full-time people. If somebody was going to be gone, we needed to have that on the calendar to know what days to work around. Then once we had those other dates on there, that's when we started layering on the messaging. So when we did the messaging, we included an action step with every message. We didn't want to just be talking to our audience. We wanted to be engaging them. So, for instance, if we were going to talk about better treatments, we would ask them to check out our research page and learn about clinical trials. And if we were going to, if we were going to promote somebody's video, a story, we would then direct them to the video library where they could hear other patients' stories. And then we would check back to see like what the open rate, what was the click-through rate, and how effective we were. The next thing we did was we wanted to make sure there were appropriate thank you channels. You can never thank your donor enough. And so we made sure all the messages and the automatic responses to a donation were in place. But we also used video and quotes and messaging on the homepage of our website, on the landing page of our campaign, so that even if you were just engaging, you can see that we really value your gift to our community. The last thing I cannot stress enough is make sure all your links work. Talk about a challenge. When you're trying to get all those messages up and prepared, if you're linking them somewhere, make sure they're going to the right page or the right area. If you're linking them to a form, make sure the form works. And then again, after the message went out, maybe a day or two, and certainly before we got ready to queue up the next one, we'd look at the open read rates or the click-through rates just to see how effective they are. One thing we learned both the first year and the second year was you have to be somewhat fluid. Even though you have this calendar, you can't be so hard fast that you're hitting somebody with, say, a message that is just causing them to opt out. And then finally, our donor list. Before every message, back in the summer of 2019, as we were getting ready for the second phase of this Join Our Journey campaign, we undertook a big project of going through and cleaning up our records, making sure we had accurate email address or we had an accurate mobile phone. That way, once we started into the second year of this campaign, we felt like we had a pretty good list to work with. So once we started, we start with that list of asking people to support the campaign. When we went around to the next message, we would go back and pull a new list and remove the people who may have opted out, who no longer wanted to hear from us, and the people who had given a donation since the last message. That way they weren't being asked to give right on the heels of previously giving. If the message was an awareness message, just check out our video library or learn about clinical trials, we included everyone because we felt that was a message that whether you've given or not, you may be interested in learning. And sometimes the message would just be about learning something else. And again, it was to the entire donor base. One of the things we also, with our donor list and donations, was we always made sure that when a person was linking to a donation form or a sign-up form, that it was the appropriate form and asked the appropriate information. So, the results. I have to say the advanced planning made a huge difference this year. So instead of a 10% growth, we had a 25% growth. Our engagement of lapsed donors did not hit the 20% mark, but we believe it was because we had such a good re-engagement the year before, we were picking up a smaller group this year. But the biggest group that grew was our first-time donors. And I can explain that. One of the things that we learned is we were getting an increase in major gifts online. There was a sweet spot of how much somebody would give in the previous year. We noticed this year by targeting some of our messaging that we had more major donor gifts, and our sweet spot for giving online increased in dollar amount. The other thing we learned as a result was that the volunteer committee was incredibly effective. In their efforts alone, they were able to raise 40% more than before in first-time donors because they were reaching out to their circle as well as our circle within the organization. So I can't stress enough the importance of planning. And while I just presented one campaign, you can take those steps in the process and really build them out in any way, in any form, whether it's an event, a campaign, a major gift campaign, and use those same steps with success. So I guess at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Scott.
All right, thanks, Beth. And thanks, Christy, for both of you for sharing such valuable expertise with us today. And we hope everyone here is inspired to get planning, to start putting these ideas into action and bring in new success for your nonprofit this year. Remember, campaign planning is not about achieving perfection. It's about creating progress for your cause. Now, before we go ahead and jump into our question and answer session, let's ask another quick poll question. So, are you interested in learning more? Would you like to like more information from Mobile Cause? So let me open up this poll, and it should be launched. So yeah, if you want to answer that one there. Would you be interested in a personalized one-on-one demo, dedicated digital fundraising strategist, online fundraising software, or fundraising events? What would you like more information on? Oh, getting some great responses here. Still trickling in. Get a few more coming in. All right, looks like we've pretty much slowed down here. So let me go ahead and close that out. And yeah, let's get into our questions and answers. So we have a few questions on a theme here, so I want to ask these to start here. So Christy, find that, where'd that first one go? There it is. So about text messaging, the first question is from Moira, and it is, how do you generate donations from text messages? Have you had success with Venmo or something similar?
I've seen quite a few questions come in through text, so I'm excited to answer this. So Mobile Cause does have text to donate and outbound text messaging as part of our software platform, and that's what we use with our customers, like when we do our digital fundraising services as well. We can set it up for our customers, but how it works is we have a short code and a keyword, and you have your own dedicated keyword, then you can have it branded to your organization. And so from a text to give to donate, you can share that at an event, in a live event, on the radio, and put it in videos, on photographs, and people can actually text in a pledge and fill the donation right there on their mobile device. And we have great success with that. And the nice thing about that feature is it sends 3 automatic reminders if somebody texted in a pledge but didn't fulfill it. So the fulfillment rate for donations through mobile devices and texting is extremely high. It's usually around in the high 80%, sometimes in the low 90s, depending upon the organization. So it's a great tool that if you're not utilizing it, especially as people become more and more reliant upon their mobile device and less on even a desktop, but certainly not checks and credit cards through paper, then it's a great option for fundraising. It's also a great way to communicate to your donors by sending text messages about your campaigns, about your events, about volunteer opportunities, and you can embed a link to a donation form or a sign-up form or a poll or a survey or a video or a story into that text message. So it doesn't even have to be an ask every time you send a text message and use that as a communication tool. You can push out information about your organization and your programs and provide updates and links to other ways to find information and learn more about your organization. And again, because everybody's mobile device is pretty much in their hand or their pocket 24/7, the open rates for text messages are 98%, and most of them are opened within 2 to 3 minutes. So the sense of urgency and the timeliness of a text message is much greater than an email or snail mail or some of the other methods that you might be using. And the other thing that I want to point out is that we have organizations that send Bible verses a day, every day, or a vocabulary word for education and SAT studying and things like that. So there's a lot of interesting and fun uses for text message. It doesn't just always have to be a program update. You can send coupons and discount coupons if you have an event or a football game or things like that. So it's a really powerful communication tool that we really utilize within our campaigns as much as possible, just because of how well it does. And then the last point, I'm going to jump ahead, Scott, because I saw this question.
Sure.
So I'll just keep rolling, is getting people to opt in onto your list to be able to text message them. Nonprofits, there is an exclusion in the texting and communication rules. So anybody who is already engaged with you, you are able to send messages to. So if you have their phone number from a donation or because somebody signed up to be on your list or something like that, then you are able to send text messages to those people. We highly recommend that the first message you send is not an ask for money, because you will see an unsubscribe rate. But if you are sending compelling messages and updates and information about your organization that they're already engaged with, then we do not see significant opt-out rates. And then as the more you communicate with them, then you are able to use text messaging and mobile messaging as a way to request for donations and giving. And then as you continue to get donations through text to donate and some of the other methods, you'll build your list of mobile numbers through continuing to get donations. And the Mobile Cause platform, even if you have a list of phone numbers, we can tell you which ones are mobile and which ones are landline. You don't even need to know what kind of number they have. That we can distinguish that for you. And you can segment your lists based upon any criteria to be able to send text messages. It doesn't have to be blanketed to everybody. You can really have targeted messages to various components of your list.
Okay, great. All right, so next question here is for Beth. Missy asks, how much of a budget did you utilize to pull off this annual campaign and strategy for the year?
Missy, that's a great question. So I'm still getting some minor expenses in, so I couldn't tell you the exact compare, but it'll be about 30%. But here, Missy, is the thing that I like to stress is a large portion of our expense still is the cost of direct mail. But last summer, when we did that big reach out to our community, we asked them, how do you prefer to be reached when it comes time to our annual fundraising appeal? And a lot of them responded that through email, that they didn't need to get that letter in the mail. So this year, we actually reduced the number of letters that we sent out. So I anticipate going forward, our costs for this campaign will continue to go down as we move the community from direct mail to more digital giving.
Okay, great answer. So Christy, we have one here from Emerson. Is there a limit of over-communicating, too many emails or text messages and the like?
I get asked that question a lot, and I would say no. It's pretty hard to over-communicate just because not everybody's going to see every message. As I mentioned in talking about text messages, if the only time you send a text message is an ask, then yes, that will have a negative impact in your success level. But as far as if it's really about the content of the message, whether it's an email or a text, if you are sending interesting content that people are looking to consume, then you can send a text every day. Leading into a campaign or a gala, you might send a couple of texts a day because it's relevant information, or you're getting people excited, or you're reminding them about a campaign. Same with email. If you're leading up to something, you might increase the number of email sends. If you're only here sending an email once a quarter, that's way too seldom, and then you probably will see a higher opt-out rate because people have had a chance to forget about you. So there is a fine line about keeping top of mind and having a cadence where people remember you and know that it's information they want to receive. But we've had, and even going back to social media on campaigns, giving days, we've had people post 100 times a day for a campaign, and it did not hurt their campaign and actually help. So it's pretty hard to over communicate, and simply because there's so many messages you have to break through.
Great. Yeah, we hear this question all the time, and yeah, it's usually always communicate more there. So great. So next question here is for Beth. Christina asks, how did the Vasculitis Foundation incorporate text to donate and mobile messaging in its annual campaign?
So text to donate, we just made that a part of our overall strategy and scheduled those messages to go out in line with the other ones. The whole idea of text to donate is they get a quick message that would spur them to click through, and the donation form is right there. They don't have to read through any other literature or things going on at the VF. They can make a quick and simple donation. What we did is once they received their thank you, we would include a link to the website if they did want to explore other areas. So that was the big way we incorporated it this year.
Okay, great. All right, I've got time for one or two more. Let me find that next one here. Got a lot of interesting ones coming in, so if picking here, or I just lost it. There it is. So Christy, if you have a much older demographic, how do you decide to spend time on social media when you would also need to build that audience?
So just because you have an older demographic does not mean they're not on social media or that they're not texting. That's a misconception that I get a lot of people asking about, oh, well, the older people, they're not on social media and they don't text, and that's not true. And actually, they're tend to be on text more frequently and respond more quickly because they get fewer texts in a day than the younger generation. But it's understanding which social media platform those people are on, and they're probably more likely to be on Facebook than Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat or TikTok. So that might be the place to start. It's also the platform that enables people to discover other pages and posts through sharing and like. So that's also a reason why I would recommend spending time there. But you're correct in that you have to balance posting, engaging with your followers, and continuing to create them. But if you are posting and engaging and with your followers, you're naturally going to have an organic growth to your page. You can continue to put links to your Facebook in your emails, or put your URL to your Facebook page in your direct mail or your letters to encourage people to go there. Posting videos is a great way. That's what's getting the algorithm most excited to push your content to followers. So the more you can do with video, and I'm not talking about a big production of, produced video, selfies, any videos taking with your phone, talking to board of directors, people that your volunteers, people you're helping in the community, short little minute and a half videos, updates. Those will definitely help get you seen and help to grow your following.
Great, thank you so much. And looking at our time, it's about time to wrap this up. So just to close this out, and continuing with annual fundraising planning, next week Mobile Cause will be sending an email with our interactive goal planning worksheet, helping you identify and build those ambitious yet attainable fundraising and engagement goals, plus some bonus strategies on achieving them. So if you're interested in discovering how Mobile Cause can help maximize your fundraising efforts so that you can raise more with less time and effort, or if you'd like to schedule a personalized one-on-one demo to see how Mobile Cause can help you grow your nonprofit, please fill out our post-webinar survey. And I also wanted to mention, Beth had mentioned Lindsay. Lindsay is one of our digital fundraising strategists, one of several on the team, and these are the ones, the one-on-one campaign support creation and strategy services that are available with Mobile Cause. And between the entire team there, they've hundreds, if not at this point, thousands of organizations that they have worked for and seen what works, what doesn't, and how to get the word out. So it's really good information, and they have a lot of great experience to help you out with your stuff. So as you're thinking about it, definitely consider that. And with that, that's all the time we have for today. But if you have questions that were not answered, you can email marketing@mobilecause.com. And again, thank you again for attending today's webinar, and really best of luck in all your fundraising efforts. We look forward to seeing you again next month at a webinar on easier, more personalized giving. And with that, have a wonderful day, everyone.